Jessica Louise AC.
I'm Maria Carmina Joyce A. Ladra.
I'm Beatrice Marie Piquet.
I'm James Patrick G. Jimenez.
I'm Ma'am Arakinan Mathe, and we are all here to know more about Arizza and the foundation she is a part of, as well as her achievements in her foundation, and as well as finding out her secret in juggling all this with her academics, her family, her friends, and of course, her faith.
We are here in UP Diliman, and we are here going to be interviewing Arizza Nocum. So good afternoon, Arizza.
Good afternoon.
Hi. Again, I'm Jamie, and this is Bea. So to start things off, who is Arizza when she is not saving the world, so to speak?
Wow. Okay. So I'm really just an ordinary person. As in, I get lazy when I wake up in the morning. I snooze my alarm clock. My room is a mess. I drive a car to school. It needs repair and it needs cleaning. And I'm just an ordinary person. And I don't know. When I'm not saving the world, I'm just like anyone else.
Okay. What is it like being a baptized Catholic Muslim from a Catholic father and a Muslim mother?
Okay, if you think about it, if you have parents who are of different religions who didn't convert each other, it sort of sounds hard to deal with.
Yeah.
But for the family, it was never like that because my parents never tried to convert each other. They really accepted each other's faith. So much so that they gave us the freedom to choose between the two faiths. Like, if we ever do decide in the future to just choose either to be Muslim or to be Catholic, then we're free to choose whatever. But my dad and my mom always just tell me that the best thing to do, whatever religion you are, is to be a kind person and to have a good heart.
What made you decide to keep both faiths instead of choosing one?
I decided to kind of keep both faiths and not really choose just one certain religion because I've been a person who's always open-minded about a lot of things. I grew up in a Catholic grade school, School of the Holy Spirit, and I still had religious formation in high school. But I realized that being a Muslim is part of my blood, it's part of my roots. And although I don't get much exposure in being Muslim here in Manila because predominantly people are Catholic, when I go home to the province, that's when I learned from my mom's relatives and her friends about, wearing the hijab, the veil, and praying how many times a day, and then Ramadan, and then I deal with fear, and then Hajj, the pilgrimage to Mecca. And I think that so far I've learned a lot from both religions. And in terms of just being a good person and just having the heart to be kind to the people and to give yourself, I think that's the central dogma in whatever religion you're in.
So would you say that there's not, so you're balanced out in terms of being Muslim and Catholic from time to time?
Something like that. Like, I feel like I take elements from not only these two religions but also other religions because I read a lot and I've been exposing myself to concepts from Buddhism and Taoism, and I have also learned some stuff from high school, and I just pick the things that I think are relevant to me and I apply it to my life. So technically I'm just a mixture of different beliefs, and like I said earlier, I think the bottom line is that you should just be a good person and be good to other people.
So who are the people or the figures that you look up to and why?
I think firstly I'd have to say my parents because they were there for me the whole way, my whole life, and they were my primary influence in terms of public service because it was my parents who started the foundation that I'm now heading. But say in terms of outside the family, I would really look up to my teachers, especially in high school, because they were the ones who first exposed me to the concept of being a Filipino, of being of service to the nation.
So, for the people who do not know your foundation, could you give us a little insight or a brief background on what it is and how is it different from the others?
Okay, so technically, actually, it's not a foundation. It's just an organization, and we're still raising money to have it registered as an actual foundation. But it started as a Christiano-Islam Peace Library in 2008. We had the objective of simply using education as a tool to promote peace and literacy in Mindanao. Because Mindanao is where my parents came from, and if you don't know, if the situation of education is bad here in Manila, it's far, 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 far worse in Mindanao. You have children swimming to school, you have teachers declining to go to school because of the terrorist situation, and you have a population of people who are really, really poor, far below the average income or earnings of the people here in Manila. So it's really a dire situation there, and that's where we started to help. So we started in 2008 by building libraries, and we also now have scholarships, and we also give books to public schools and institutions. So far, we've built 6 libraries, 3 in Zamboanga, 1 in Davao, 1 here in Manila, and 1 in Rizal. And we've given more than 200 scholarships to students from kinder to college, both in Manila and in Zamboanga. And we've donated a lot of books to public schools, especially in Mindanao.
So, still being a teenager, what made you want to accomplish so much with the Christian Islam Peace Library and your academics and your extracurricular?
At the beginning, I was just really sort of focused on academics. Like in grade school and in high school, I didn't think that I would ever be doing this, community service and public leadership. But as I said, it all started with my parents. When they started the Chris Library, I realized that I have to help them because I have time to give. I mean, we're college students. When we were in high school, we had free time. We didn't always have to do homework, or we didn't always have to go on gimmicks and stuff. We had free time. So I used that free time to help my parents. And gradually, I took on more responsibilities myself. And I realized that even though I'm a student and I have other responsibilities, being a daughter, helping my parents at home or being in school, being a good student, I realized that I'm capable of creating change just by doing small things, just by contributing to the lives of children. And that made me feel good because I felt like I was creating an impact. And especially if you hear the stories of these kids, parang in Filipino, it masasabi mo na kailangan ko tong gawin.
Of all the issues, why education? I mean, there are a lot of problems to be solved here in our country, but why did you choose education?
I think it's based on my own experiences because before I used to think when I was in grade school, hey, I'm just gonna become rich in the future. I'm gonna be a doctor or a lawyer, and I'm just gonna earn lots of money to travel and marry someone handsome and stuff. But then, because I was exposed to a public school in high school, Philippine Science High School, and my teachers started to expose me to the concept of being a Filipino, and now I'm in UP. I realized how much education has changed me. From being someone who was virtually nothing, who virtually accomplished not so much, and who didn't care about the Philippines, I was transformed into this advocate of volunteerism, and I started caring about other people. I started believing in the vision of a better Philippines, and all of that happened because my teachers molded me to be this way. And I realized how many more, what if more people were molded like me in this way, and more people were out there helping other people out, then the impact would be so great. And you guys are from public schools too. You're from UP Manila. Tell me how many problems there are in our schools. There's a lack of classrooms. Some of our facilities are outdated. During enrollment, for us UP Diliman students, we all scramble and fight over subjects. And you ought to realize that our education system could be really improved. There are a lot of holes to fill, and I want to be able to contribute to fill those holes.
So, do you think entering a public school like Philippine Science High School and University of the Philippines Diliman is a major turning point in your life? I mean, what if you enter the private school? Do you think you'll become the person you are now?
Definitely not. It was in Pisay I first saw. I remember there was this award ceremony, and I was in the gym, and beside me was a chair, and there was a bucket on it, and there was water dripping from the ceiling, and I was like, oh my gosh. And there were also these times in Pisay where we would just look at the facilities and laugh. Like, we had a swimming pool with no water. We had a bowling alley that we never touched. We had really outdated labs. And imagine, I don't want to brag, but students from Pisay have so much potential. And if you could improve education just a little bit, and maybe even allow more students to get into scholarships like the one from Philippine Science High School, then a lot more people would benefit. And say, like I said earlier, here in UP Diliman or UP Manila, if we had more advanced facilities or more teachers or better systems of education, then we would have, it would produce so much impact on our lives and on the Philippines in general. Really, I think education is really our hope.
So, we heard that you won the Zonta Award.
Can I add something?
Okay.
Also, I want to mention some of our scholars from Chris Library, because some of them really have nothing. Like, their parents keep persuading them not to study anymore. Huwag ka na mag-aral, magtrabaho ka na lang sa farm, magsasaka ka na lang parang tatay mo. That's what they keep saying to these kids. But then, some of our scholars are still young, and they're already realizing the value of education. Instead of just inheriting the job of their parents to be farmers or fishermen, they now want to work as doctors. They now want to finish as engineers. And in fact, one of our scholars from Zamboanga, she almost didn't go to college. She's now training to be a nurse. And some of our scholars here in Manila, they thought that they wouldn't be able to go to college, but now they're taking up business and marketing. And it's really great because you can see the hope and the vision that they have, and hopefully in the future they too will be able to contribute to the country.
Back to my question.
Sorry.
Okay. So you won the Zonta International Award. So how did your life change when you won the award?
I'm not really into awards because I do these things because I believe that it's the right thing to do. But when I heard about me winning the Zonta International Award, it was such a big thing because there were only 5 girls all over the world that year who were awarded, and it was quite a significant cash prize, and I was overwhelmed. But instead of becoming, proud and mayabang, I didn't think of it that way. It was more of, it added more pressure to me. It encouraged me to pursue my vision more. Since I was already awarded this, I should live up to the name of Young Women for Public Affairs. So I kept on pushing myself, and the summer after I was awarded the Zonta International Award, I helped Chris Library raise almost more than 130,000 pesos for our scholarships. And it was really a big achievement for me to be able to help so many of our scholars.
So, is there any experience in your memory that, what do you call this, stands out in Chris Library?
Chris Library. So many. There was this one time we were in Chris Library, Zamboanga. Most of the kids who go to our library there are Muslim. And there was this small Muslim girl. She was one of our scholars. And we thought she was just quiet and, reserved. But then we asked our scholars to talk about Chris Library and what they're doing about, the free education that they're getting through our library. And then when we gave the mic to the scholars, it was natural. They were shy, they were a bit reserved, they're not really used to public speaking. And then this small girl who was around grade 5 or grade 6, she grabbed the mic and she spoke so well. She spoke even better than me. And you knew in just that moment that this girl could go far. Even though she was still so small, you knew that she could go far. But then what happened kind of reflects the situation of Mindanao right now, because that girl, her name is City, she was in grade 5, right? She was top of her batch in the public school. And then when she was in grade 6, she was already pushing for valedictorian. But what happened was, her father was assassinated. Some of the barangay officials think that it must have been a problem with the dowry because they're a Muslim family, and when you marry someone off, you give a dowry, right? And I think there was once possibility that their family didn't pay the dowry, and because of honor, the father was murdered. There's also the possibility that her father was part of the Abu Sayyaf, and being part of the Abu Sayyaf, he would naturally have enemies. So he could have also been murdered through that reason. And what happened was, of course, City and her family got really scared. She stopped attending school, and she didn't end up as valedictorian, but I think she still managed to be in the top 10 of the batch when she graduated. And she's no longer our scholar because her family had to move somewhere else. So I still get chills when I think about that. I really feel sorry for what happened to her, and I still hope that she still has that spark in her, even though that happened to their family.
I have to change the topic a little bit. So, how do you decide where to place a library? You heard that you have one. This place and the other place.
We basically, I think there are just two factors. The first would be how much the place needs the library, and the second would be if our resources would be able to put the library there, because it's not cheap and it's not easy. So what we do is we get donations from people to build and maintain these libraries, or if there's already an existing structure, we just fix it and then we put books. Most of our libraries right now are in really, really underprivileged areas. We have 3 libraries in Zamboanga. One is in Manikaan. Manikaan is a fishing and farming community. Two are in areas that are not reached by highways, I think. I wasn't allowed to go there because my dad thought it was dangerous. But we do have 2 libraries in 2 other areas in Zamboanga that are near alleged Abu Sayyaf camps and military camps, something like that. And you can see that the families are really poor. The families rarely have access to educational resources such as books. And if you visit the schools there, they don't have books, which is really sad. We also have a library here in Rizal. It's a relocation site for victims of Typhoon Ondoy, Typhoon Milenio, and the various fires that happened in near Pasay, I think last year, 2 years ago. So the people who lost their homes, who got evacuated, went to that area and started a new life. And of course, since they're starting from scratch, they barely have anything. So that's where we decided to put one library. Also, since we live here in Diliman and we live in front of a informal settlers community, we also decided to put a library in our house. So, you know, these children can just come and read. Yeah, so I think that answers your question.
Where do you envision Christie's library in 10 years?
10 years, wow. So I think right now my goal is to keep the system afloat. I'm trying to find a way to get more volunteers involved, you know, because I can't operate it just by myself. My parents are busy with work, so I really have to rely on myself. And I really want to get more people like me, you know, young individuals who really want to contribute to work through Chris Library. I want to be able to see through the education of these kids that we already have, you know. I don't want to keep adding and adding scholars and more libraries. I want to focus on what we already have so that, you know, quality is better than quantity. Also, in 10 years, I wish not only that we would have more libraries and more scholars, but that we would have more leaders. Because if we develop more leaders through our scholars and through the friends I make and through these speeches and interviews I give, you can really multiply the effect of Chris Library. And I hope that in 10 years, there wouldn't just be a Chris Library, but there would be like a consolidation of various organizations for different sectors, like different groups, United for Education or something like that. Youth groups all allied for a common cause.
How does it feel to be a recipient of the Jerry Rojas Leadership Award?
There was a point where I actually didn't feel like I deserved the award because I think the Jerry Rojas Leadership Award usually went to the president of the student council and I was only the vice president. Our president was really great and she could have deserved the award, but they gave it to me, I think, because of my inclination with public service. When I received the award, I didn't think much of it. But then I went to a camp that the Jerry Rojas Foundation organized for all the awardees, and that's when I really learned that it's a big responsibility to be an awardee. Actually, it's a big responsibility to be an awardee of anything because you have to live up to the name. Like with Zonta, I had to live up to the name of Jerry Rojas, who was apparently a very, very prolific public official who really embodied the motto of Filipino service to the nation. And yeah, I learned that at least I had to emulate his efforts. And yeah, through Jerry Rojas, the same with Zonta International, I focused on working harder to achieve my goals.
And out of all the awards and achievements that you have accomplished, which one are you most proud of and why?
Wow, okay. I think that I don't really focus much on the awards and achievements, but I do think that the best achievement I've actually accomplished is the achievement I've done through Kids We Help in Chris Library. every time someone graduates, every time someone gets awarded a medal, we all go crazy and we're so happy. And sometimes I feel like I have so many children and that I'm a proud mother during March. And whenever there are problems, like there are times when scholars don't want to continue their education because parents are trying to stop them and trying to persuade them to work. But when we get over when we surpass those challenges, I feel proud too and I feel accomplished. And basically, I'm most proud of the impact I've done and not just the awards that I've received.
Was there ever a time that you felt like giving up?
Yes, there were so many times. I mean, sometimes I ask myself, why do I do this? Why can't I just be an ordinary teenager, go to the mall, watch a movie, go on dates? But I realized that this is what I really wanted. Same with people who pursue a career in music. Same with people who act or who sing or who become scientists or astronauts. You know, there's that one thing you want to do, and this is what I want to do.
How do you deal with all the pressure?
I know when to stop. I mean, this is a lot of work, right? I think you can imagine how much effort and time and sweat and blood this entails. And sometimes you need to learn to stop and, to just zone out from the world, like turn off your phone, turn off your internet, and just, I don't know, watch a movie, read a book, and of course I have my inspiration too. Not just, inspiration from parents and teachers and stuff. I have inspiration from boys and, the usual things. I'm also a teenager, so I know how to stop from that other world and just be a kid.
What are your guilty pleasures when you're not studying or not helping others?
I would have to say food. Seriously, yesterday it was my birthday and I had 3 straight meals that were so awesome. Italian and Chinese and cake and everything I ever wanted. And well, I think it's just, the small things like plate of really delicious food, or here in UP Diliman when you feel the wind on your face and it's quiet, or a really good song you hear on the radio. It's what keeps me, happy. I mean, these things that I work towards, Chris Library and all the other efforts, these are long-term things. You don't see the outright effects, and you need to live with a little happiness every day. And I get my happiness from little things.
You still have time to be a regular teen.
Yes, definitely.
So Arizza, what other things would you like to accomplish in your life?
I want to graduate from college, of course. And other than my advocacy of education, I also want to realize my other dreams. Like, for instance, I've always wanted to write. Even when I was in high school, my favorite subject was English. So I would always write, and I would always want to say speeches. And I even joined the speech competition last year. And I want to pursue that. I want to keep writing, I don't know, maybe essays, short stories, or novels in the future. And I want to, what else? And I want to do the usual things, be a normal teenager and go through all the things we all do, like go out with friends, travel. I just want to be, I guess, a complete person, I don't want to work too hard on just one thing and forget my family or forget my friends. I want to be well-rounded.
So we all know that there are people who want to take action but they don't know how. So what could you advise to them?
I think they should start by looking at the problems that are directly in front of them, like the problems that are in their community, in their school, or in their home even. And you should start with that. You don't have to reach out to the big problems in the country. You can just start with the things that are closest to you. Like what happened with me was in Zamboanga, my province, and where I live here in Manila. That's where we essentially started. And also, you have to use a medium that you love. Like for instance, for Chris Library, what I basically do is I write about these kids and I post about them online. And when I do write about them, donors contact me and they donate money, or they donate books, or they donate whatever they can donate. Or another passion of mine is kind of graphic design and the web development stuff. And I made the Chris Library website, and it's the primary go-to for our volunteers and donors. And those two passions of mine are used in great ways through Chris Library. So I guess the people who want to help but don't know how should start with something they love to do. If you love to sing, then you can organize like a concert if you want, for the benefit of a place that you really feel that you're obliged to help to. As in, you really have to start with what you want, because if you're not passionate about what you're doing, kung napipilitan ka lang, then there's not gonna be a real fruit to your efforts.
So how can you motivate people to be like you, to yield more future Arizzas? I try to speak and write as much as I can. If you become my friend on Facebook, which you will, I constantly write sometimes about issues about in the country, or sometimes about just random experiences that I have, and I try to relate them to my advocacy and my passions. And sometimes people contact me and say they want to volunteer, or they want to help, or they want to donate out of the blue, and that's the starting point. I also try to engage in other activities. Like say here in UP, I'm part of the Industrial Engineering Club, and we have another project which also aims to help foundations. So as part of that club, I'm already trying to influence my org mates to to care about other people in the world, like I'm doing right now. So I think I'm not forcing anyone. I'm basically just being really present and loud and visible, so that people know that even an 18-year-old normal girl can do it. So for our last question, what song would best describe how you want to be remembered?
Okay, I really love music, and I think if there was just one song, I would say Imagine by John Lennon. I'm a fan of old music, 70s, 80s, 60s, and John Lennon is one of my favorites. And whenever I hear his song Imagine, basically you feel a vibe of peace and love and everything. And I think that's basically what I'm rooting for. I mean, apart from education, all I basically want is for people to to be more at peace with themselves and to love what they're doing. Because right now, a lot of people don't like what they're doing. They don't like their jobs. They get bored with their lives. They're not passionate about things. And when you hear a song like that, you imagine, right? Imagine if you could do this. Imagine if you could accomplish your dreams. Just, imagine. And I think what has made me probably different from other people is that I've had the courage to just imagine, and through imagining, I've pursued action that has realized these dreams. And although I still have a lot of imagined dreams and visions and goals to pursue, I'm really happy that I'm able to dream freely and to freely imagine how I could make a difference in my community, in the people around me, in the nation, and even in myself. So, yeah.
We've gotten an insight on Arizza Nocum and her Chris Library Foundation. That started from her parents, and it rooted. It started with her parents, and it grew eventually because of Arizza and her contributions. Your your work and as well as your beliefs has made an impact on us as well as impact on others that may benefit from what you do. So with that, we'd like to thank you so much.
Thank
So,
you.
yes, we'd like to thank you for this opportunity and for your time, for giving us insights on your life and your organization. So with this, we'd like to give you this token.
Tokens.
Tokens. So yeah, thank you.
So yeah, thank you.
Thank you.